Hey, I'm Bekah.
And I'm Bryce. This is Ender, and this is Atlas.
This content is sponsored by Outdoorsy. Through Outdoorsy, you can rent your camper van out to make extra cash, and you can rent a van to try van life before you commit.
This is a 2019 Sprinter van 3500 XD, and we got it new.
Yeah, around like 2019. But then we ended up doing like a few iterations of it. So I'm a UX designer, so for me, doing like a wireframe build where it was just like, you know, getting to know the frame, getting to know the layout. I think we did like 3 different iterations of it.
Yeah, so we built it with like really cheap wood because we wanted to live in it and experience it to figure out what we liked and didn't like.
And then when we were ready to finally do like the last build, we took everything out minus the insulation and the electrical work and basically just like started from scratch. Hey, so welcome in. First, we kind of have our entrance area, and one of our favorite things is we place the fridge right at the end of the galley. So this is an isotherm 65 drawer, so it actually slides right open. There is about a week's worth of groceries in here. And we also have a freezer, so if we want to do like popsicles on the hot days, that is like a godsend. All right, so we have our countertop, which is essentially a huge piece of plywood. From there, I put a white feather finish on top of it, which is just like a surface or cement. And then finish that off with a epoxy. So it's like a barkeeper's friend, food safe type material. And so that just like seals it all up, basically makes it indestructible. So if we spill anything on it, if we mess it up, it just comes right back off. Next, we have an induction cooktop. So with this is a Summit 2-burner. It's been really great on the road. It cooks things up super fast. We can boil water really, really quickly. So it's been great, although having glass in the van is still something that we're having to get used to. So there is some chips occasionally. So we're having to like actually patch those in. Next, we have our sink setup. So I know two like double sinks in a van is really ridiculous, but the thing is that we cook. That's why we went with like a bigger fridge system. That's why we have induction. Having 2 sinks, one, just makes it so much easier to do dishes, but it also makes it so we're saving more water. So we have like a full water hookup, so on demand hot water, which is fantastic because we also have a 40-gallon tank in the back. We have purified water too, so we don't have to go to the store to buy it or have to use some other type of filtration system other than this guy right here. And so then when we're doing dishes, we can have like one that's kind of full of like soapy water, one that's more clean, and so we're also being so much more water efficient as we're doing all that stuff as well. Over here we just have some like fruit and veggie baskets because he's still trying to eat super healthy on the road. And again, just with cooking, so this is very much conducive to that. We have a magnetic, I mean, it's a knife block, but we pretty much use it not really for knives. Like we don't actually move while knives are on there because I can just like see that flying if we got into a crash or anything else, even though it has a sleeve on it. But we usually do use them for our mugs. So instead of having to have a drying rack always out, because we do have one that kind of like folds out and fits into one of these sections, these can just go right up there because they're the 2 cups we use the most. We have a drawer just for all of our spices and all of our utensils, cooking utensils, etc. One thing I did was actually measured the size of the drawer because we didn't have a lot of space over the fridge because that's where the fridge is right here. So I basically bought this like little cubby from IKEA and then made the drawer like just big enough to actually fit it. So that also meant that things weren't like jumping out and we're also utilizing the most storage that we could. The other thing that I was kind of, you know, trying to include in this, which is a small pantry area. And so this little guy slides right out. And so we can keep like spices, boxes of, you know, random food, wine, at the bottom. Definitely measured this to make sure it did fit wine before I actually installed it. We have a door that essentially has like rare earth magnets connected to it that essentially is an entry into the back area. This is like where we stuff toilet paper, where we stuff paper towels, the dog food, all that goes back there, and it just plops right back in. So over here we have a closet, which is nice. So, you know, those big puffy coats can actually stay in there. But we also have a shower, and this was one thing that was definitely, like, again, space, a lot of space in the van. What we ended up doing was creating like more of a plywood frame. We got a fiberglass bottom onto it, and then we basically waterproofed all, like, the, you know, did a whole waterproof membrane on the inside, so that these tiles that you see here, it's like little black metallic-y, don't actually do anything for waterproofness. It's actually just there for pizzazz. Here we also have the 10-gallon tank, I believe, underneath it, just for the shower. We have a separate water tank for the sink system, and so for that, once it drains, it has its own area, so we can flush that essentially whenever we get to a place where that's okay to do. This guy kind of like comes off, so it just is, again, magnets, because we love magnets in vans. We have storage within the wall on one side since there's no utilities in there, and we have the Laveo dry flush toilet. We were thinking compostable for a while, but because we're not in the van for, you know, full time, we're part-time vanners, we wanted something that, like, if it was like sitting there for a while, it wouldn't be like a terrible, disgusting mess by the end of it. So in here we have a clothesline too, so if there's like wet towels, wet clothes, if we're doing laundry on the road and can't get to a laundromat, it's all in there, and it's, you know, protected, and it's not dripping out in the main area. We also have a sliding door right here, so this basically just cleans itself and is very nice just to, like, you know, keep all that water contained. And then we actually also have 2 max air fans, so one kind of near the bed by the shower and the other one near the front, so whenever we are taking a shower, we just like have this pull out, have that put air in, and basically have a nice cycle, so we're also not keeping a lot of moisture in the air. That's also good when you're using the toilet and you don't want that smell coming into the van. We have a lot of cabinets up at the top. This one is probably one of my favorites. For me, when we're on the road, in a van, everything has to have its place. So I wanted to have the place that we put all of our electronics, our camera, computers, to be also the place that we're charging it. So for this guy, we basically have laptop little sections right here that are also padded, so once you're going, you know, down the road, down bumpy roads, these are not like shattering their screens. Also have a section for the, you know, the camera, random other stuff, and then along the side we have a whole like outlet bank. All right, so we have a Freeman Seat. This is a 2-seater, has integrated seat belts, super safe. It's bolted all the way through the floor, so basically the safest you can get for a non-factory seat. The one reason that we really went with this is that we get the second seat even though we don't have 4 people in here, but we also have it nicely tucked away when we're not using it, so that also gives us the full galley area to walk through, and it means that we're just, you know, not stuck in a super cramped van at all times. So how this kind of comes together is pretty easy, because I also didn't want a lot of transitioning spaces in the van. This is the only transitioning space that we do have. This just comes right down and then flips up, and we can still kind of like sneak past. And then we also have this, which is our Lagoon mount table, which just mounts to the wall and can slide right on. So for here we can have like a nice dinner. We can flip it around and have it be like a more of a workspace. We've had 4-person dinner parties in here, so you really can use this space to the fullest. Over here at the window, one thing that we do have, this is a turn overland awning window. We are usually based in the Pacific Northwest, and so that means it rains a lot. And so one thing that we wanted to do was make sure that we had a window that had an awning to it. So something that would open up so we could still use it when it was raining. So for Seattle, that's like 98% of the time. It just has all these little clips all around, and then there's a bunch of positions for it. So there's like 1, like 2, kind of like fully open. So this is really fantastic. You get amazing airflow through this entire area. The other thing, because as an outdoor person, I'm actually very allergic to mosquito bites, is it has an integrated bug screen, which is really great. And then, you know, in the evenings, if, you know, we're changing or whatever else, we can pull this right up. And then we also have a privacy screen. All right, so we have the raised bed system. So this is great because we usually are mountain biking, climbing, all that stuff. And we wanted to make sure to have the bikes inside the van. So we basically raise up the bed and have the bikes underneath. We do have the 2 flare outs from Flare Space, so we can sleep sideways in the van. Those are good because while I could probably manage to sleep sideways without them, my husband, who's like, you know, 6 foot-ish, has a harder time. So they're great. We also finished them out with the trim rings that came from Flare Space, just so that we weren't having to make these like really awkward cuts. For this, we also have reading lights on both sides, so kind of like his or her, and also have some kind of cup holders. Back in the bed area again with, you know, converting spaces, one thing we wanted to have was some secret outlets. So we do have like a full battery bank that is good for the kitchen area. So if we bring out like a blender, plug that right in. But it also has a like wireless charging on top, so we can just like place our phones on there if we're sleeping and have it fully connected. Up here we also have our kind of command center. So we have, you know, 2 freshwater tanks, 2 gray water tanks, and we can actually empty them from right here. So like if we are in a place where we can just like dump the tanks, we just flip the switch and then it unlocks it from down below. We have our inverter, we have our alternator charger that we can turn on. But the best thing I think in the van is actually our radiant floor heating system. So our radiant floor heating system is actually run off the same thing that does our water and does our air heat. So it was a little bit more to add in the radiant floor, which I haven't seen in a van yet. And being up in the Pacific Northwest all the time, that means that we do not live in an ice box. So it actually keeps like the entire van really warm.
So while Bekah did a lot of the cabinetry, or all the cabinetry, I did the electrical, the plumbing, and the heating system. I think a couple things that make our van unique is we have endless hot water, and it's the same system that does the air and the heated floor. So we don't regret doing this at all. Would absolutely do it again. On the same side as the heater, which is this side, we have our water fill and an outdoor shower. And we just keep the hose here on our L track. And this has hot water as well as cold water. We have a 40-gallon water tank that sits on a bed of 80/20, and that is over the wheel well. So to try and balance out that weight, we put our electrical system on this side. We have 400 amp hours of Battleborn batteries right now, but I think we're gonna actually add another 400. And this is a 60-inch bike tray. The whole thing slides out. We wrapped it in coin floor because we live in the Pacific Northwest and it's constantly wet there. So in the winter when we're riding our bikes, like this just gets chock full of mud, and you know the coin floor is invincible, so it's really easy to just pull them out, hose off the bikes, which we do here, by the way. So our friends are always using our water tank after a ride because we have hot water, so it's like your hands aren't freezing cold. We have a 3,000 watt inverter charger. It's from Victron, and we went with like the entire Victron setup. So our DC to DC charger. As far as our solar setup goes, we have 310 watts.
Thanks so much for coming to our van tour. If you want to follow along on some of our adventures and like cute dog photos, just follow us on Instagram at Generally Outdoorsy.
If you have any questions, go ahead and let us know. We look forward to seeing you on the road.
Yeah, see ya.
I hope you enjoyed that video. If you hadn't noticed, we do sell an ebook for how to convert a van. It has over 190 pages of detailed instructions and diagrams, also 25 video tutorials which are specifically for the ebook buyer. Creating a van for many people is obviously a really intimidating project, but I really believe, and I've seen it time and time and time again, that with the right information, anyone can turn out with a pretty decent van conversion. So check the link in the description, subscribe to the channel if you are not already, and drop us a comment if you like this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.